We're Team 1, and today we'd like to introduce you to StepByStep, an application for Google Glass that assists young adults with autism in transitioning into doing tasks independently. A lot of research and interventions have focused on children. However, we now have a growing population of young adults that are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders. And so aiding in this transition into young adulthood and independence is really important. StepByStep provides a transitional resource by providing support for tasks on Glass. Caretakers are able to provide support without physically being present, and young adults with autism are able to request support, but only when they need it. The great thing about StepByStep is that it actually creates a gradual transition from doing tasks entirely together to independently. Before we go into the application, let's meet some of our target users. This is Maggie. She goes to college and lives alone. Like many people with autism, she struggles with anxiety and is prone to sensory overload. She could use a tool to help her stay calm in these situations. This is Eric. He lives with his parents, who are his primary caregivers. And Eric would like to do more tasks independently, but his parents are concerned because he has a tendency to wander and struggles to stay on task. Now meet Jake. Jake is going to be starting to take classes at college in the fall. He has difficulty staying focused on tasks and managing in crowds. He won't have any trouble with the school aspect, but things like grocery shopping and going to the dining hall may be challenging for him. This is Susan, Jake's mom. She's his primary caregiver and somewhat nervous about Jake's transition to college. Susan isn't alone. Mothers are often primary caregivers for children with autism and tend to have higher levels of stress and depression. Today we're going to take you through Susan and Jake's journey with StepByStep. Jake is ready to be more independent and to start doing things alone. And this will also be beneficial for Susan. However, they need a framework to be able to transition into this independence, and StepByStep will provide that.
So as we mentioned before, most of the current interventions and research are based in childhood, and some of the strategies include visual schedules, which is then and now images to help people step through tasks. There's video modeling and other kinds of tools listed. And what we try to do is to integrate some of these using Glass's capabilities. So we use visual schedules by using the timeline cards, and we have virtual reality using what we call the alone together phase, where the caretaker can see what the user is seeing, but she doesn't have to be there, or vice versa. And the auditory prompting we use through the Glass's bone conduction speaker. So what sets this apart really is not just that we're targeting young adults going into adulthood, but also that Google Glass allows us to integrate different kinds of sensory feedback. And the most important one is the front-facing camera that, again, allows the alone together function so that the caretaker doesn't have to be physically present. And we have really clear and constrained choices for tapping and swiping that are consistent throughout the application. So now we're going to show you a video of Jake and Susan's experience.
Jake and Susan are looking for resources to help Jake make the transition to being more independent as he starts college. They come across StepByStep, a Google Glass application that provides the scaffolding necessary for Jake to learn to do more activities independently. Their first goal is for Jake to be able to do some basic grocery shopping on his own. Jake downloads the StepByStep application on his Glass device. The app gives him a registration code which he can share with his mom so she can download it on her mobile phone. Jake's first goal is to be able to successfully navigate the campus grocery store. Susan sets up this first task by going to the store by herself. While she's there, she can take photos and write brief instructions for each individual step. The images and text Susan enters into the app are made into cards that will prompt Jake as he learns to navigate the grocery store independently. Once she's back home, Susan can review and edit the steps. She can also add contacts for urgent support and relaxation activities to the app. To get familiar with the application and the steps for the first task they are going to try, Susan and Jake complete training activities at home. Next, they practice together. Susan and Jake go to the campus grocery store and go through all the steps together. During this phase, Glass provides routine guidance by displaying the steps Jake needs to complete, while Susan can still provide in-person support when needed. Once they have successfully completed the task together, they start the alone together phase. In this phase, Susan and Jake engage in a video call where audio is streamed to both of them. Susan sees continuous video from Jake's point of view camera. On the glass, Jake sees the cards with the steps Susan created. After Jake has mastered the alone together phase, and Mom feels comfortable to not be in constant communication, they can start the independent practice phase. In this phase, Glass displays the steps to Jake while he independently does the activity. These steps function as visual schedules to help Jake stay on task. At any time, Jake is able to use the urgent support function to call his mom if something unpredictable happens. He simply double taps on Glass to pull up the urgent support menu, which can rapidly contact Susan. Eventually, Jake becomes comfortable with these steps and can routinely complete this task. Because of StepByStep, both Susan and Jake can now be more independent, which relieves stress for Susan and helps make Jake more confident. Together, they decide their next challenge will be tackling busy meal times at the dining hall.
So as you just saw, Jake and Susan work with StepByStep pretty smoothly. So Susan takes pictures on her mobile application and edits all the steps. The pictures are then uploaded to the Dropbox website, and when Jake's ready, he pulls up the application on Glass and gets all the scripts. Our StepByStep uses the concept of being alone together by using an in-app video chat. We have an OpenClaw video chat server that helps us to communicate between the Glass application and the mobile device. StepByStep uses step cards for guiding Jake during his tasks. StepByStep also supports customizing tasks and support systems. We would like to thank OpenClaw Video Exchange Server for providing the video chat. These are a few screenshots of the Glass app. When Jake chooses the activity, it connects Jake to Susan, and then he sees the timeline cards. As you can see here, this is an urgent support system. Whenever Jake needs urgent support, he can just double tap and go to the screen and start a video call or an audio call with Susan.
So StepByStep, the caregiver app, is currently supported on most Android phones. The cool thing about it is that it automatically links to a specific glass, so any data entered will automatically go to that user's glass. And it has OpenClaw functionality, so the caregiver can also open a video call. And this is sort of just a hierarchical view of data, and it shows that it has the functionality where the caregiver can edit each piece of the data from the general task to the individual step. So we also want to give some feedback showing how many times a user has completed a task. This helps to the user to know when they can move on. So this sort of depicts the general goal of the app, which is for Jake to just sort of become really integrated into an independent lifestyle and just be happy with his friends and so on. And now we're going to give you a quick demo of the app, a live demo.
Okay, so just while they're setting up, again with the success page, that's our goal. And the idea is that even once he goes to college or wherever the users go, you can always go back to phase 0, phase 1, and start over with all tasks. So he's good with grocery shopping, but say laundry or going to the dining hall, someone else or himself, they can set up a new set of task cards and go through it until he's ready to do these things on his own. So it's really something that they can use for any kind of task, and they can always backtrack and then move forward again.
Yeah, and one of the really great parts of this app is this alone together phase, which we'll show you here, that provides a transition. Instead of just saying, okay, now you're going to do this by yourself, which won't work for either the caregiver or for the young adult. They actually can go through this in sort of a piece-by-piece way and hopefully eventually phase out of needing to rely so much on the application.
Yes, assuming this works. Okay, so we're gonna start. This is fine, just as long as they can see it. Just maximize it a little bit. They won't see everything, but can you just drag that down a little bit? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna go through the phone app really quickly. Yeah. Thanks. I'm just going to show what it would be like for a caregiver to go into the phone app and to actually set up an individual step. It does more than that, but we have limited time. So first, you go to the task view, all the tasks. It's a little laggy. So we're going to pick grocery. We could also add a task here at this step if we wanted to.
It's loading quickly on her phone.
It is loading quickly. It's just really laggy up there. Trust me. Okay. And so then we're going to go in. We're going to edit a step. We could also change the title here if we wanted to. I'm going to scroll down. Let's pick step 12. All right. So all right, so we're going to upload an image. You can't see the entire screen, unfortunately, but hopefully you'll be able to see the image when I upload it. So what this is doing right now, it's pinging the Dropbox server, and it's just picking up the data. Or sorry, it's actually going to be uploading the data. Okay, so we have our picture of a gallon of milk, which hopefully you saw that I got from my image gallery. And I'm just going to save the changes, and hopefully that'll go through. All right, so let's just go back and make sure that it's there so that we know that the data uploaded successfully and that it'll then appear on the glass.
And we really tried to have in mind while creating this that not everyone would necessarily be familiar with this, so we really made it simple. If you do a picture, you can put in a little bit of text, and the steps are very linear. So this is the first thing you do. And as you probably saw in the video, we would recommend that people would go to the location and actually do the task themselves to sort of identify what these steps would be.
All right, so hopefully it'll be showing us. Oh, there it is. Okay, it uploaded successfully. I'm happy. Let's see if it actually showed up on the glass.
So let me just introduce the Glass app to you. Let's pull up our app. It's called, I'm gonna wait. Step by Step. And this is our home screen. We pass on the unique ID, which is Glass 1 for this ID, and the Caretaker app uses this ID to connect. If you see, notice this is loading the task that Susan already set up. And if you see closely, we have custom footers that help Jake or any user to navigate easily. So you have basically 4 options: next choice, back, tap, or which is the next screen, and double tap, which is the need help screen. So as we see, we have 2 activities here. One, grocery shopping, and the next is the library. Yeah. Let's go to the grocery shopping and see how it is. I tap in and go into the grocery shopping screen. We have 3 different call options here. Start a video call, start an audio call, and no call. So we just assume that we are doing it independently for now, and then go to the no call option. Here you see that we are loading all the scripts onto the Glass application. As I mentioned earlier, we have custom footers for easy navigation. So here now we just have 3 options: next choice, back, and double tap. Yeah, and we swipe forward, which takes us to the next task, and we do all the tasks. Go to aisle 3. Hopefully, yeah.
Step 12, I should have made it
Yeah. So, yeah.
Show the call.
So, all right. So now let me just show you how the video call works. To your right is
I have it open.
to your right is the Caretaker app, and to your left is the Glass app. So she's connecting to a call right now. As you see, we use the open-close server, and the video chat is starting. And you should see the video. Now I'll connect. Now I'll connect with my Glass to this video chat. And go to start video chat and to my steps. You see that it's connecting, and you see the open-close server starting up.
There it is.
Not yet.
Oh, I see it.
So you can hear the audio as well.
I can also put it on user view so that I only see him, because I don't want to, as the caregiver, I don't want to see myself. I only want to see his view. So that's what user view is. You'll see it in a second.
So, yeah, and if you just want to turn the screen as well, so that
So as you can see, the audio
is a little laggy, but
And if you'll notice, his screen goes back to the step cards. He doesn't see the other end of the video.
so it's basically like a one-way video chat where I'm seeing the cards and my caretaker is seeing the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. My caretaker is seeing the video.
So that's how they also would work normally. If they were in the alone together phase, this would be on the whole time, and he can still go through.
Yeah.
All right, so
All right. That's
we'll take
it.
questions.
Thank you.
So we have 10 minutes of questions from our expert panel here, and after good minutes right here as well. So any questions, comments?
Yes.
This is fascinating, very nice, and I was just hoping you could explain how you might evaluate this, and what would be the first steps, areas that you might run into trouble, like linear tasks versus contingent tasks, things like that. How would you evaluate this?
So I think there's sort of 2 components to that question. As far as evaluating, we'll actually be. Oh, I'm not sure if this app is going to continue into next semester, but maybe it will. All right, so our thinking will come up with a few standardized tasks that will have several people complete that are something similar to grocery shopping, where it is a linear task and it would be something that many people would be familiar with. So we wouldn't necessarily be the people would have done it before, and it wouldn't be unique tasks for each individual user. As far as tasks that are contingent, at this point, we don't have anything programmed to be able to say, if this happened, do this. But that's definitely an interesting future direction. And since the tasks are customized by the caregiver, in some circumstances, you may know that, if I show up at the bus and it's not there, then I need to do this. If I show up at the bus and it's arriving in the next 5 minutes, I need to do this. So if those types of situations come up, technically I think we could add that as we're thinking about adding in location-based or timing-based cues from Glass. It's just things we haven't got to yet.
So
Yes.
We need to think about evaluating the caregiver experience because
Yes.
a lot of the success depends on the usability and the ability of the caregiver to input and create a task.
Yeah, I think in some ways it might be best to do those things as two separate studies, but it's definitely an important component. Two of us are writing proposals right now, and one of our members who couldn't be here tonight, she's writing a proposal about evaluating caregiver outcomes for this task. Because one of the important things that we thought about with this is that it's very stressful to be responsible for caring for another individual, especially family members, all the time. And so ideally, this would have some good positive outcomes on well-being for caregivers as well.
So have you thought of other ways of getting around just sequential tasks? Like the grocery shopping is a great example. It's like I don't need peanut butter today, right? So things might need to be much more flexible depending on the situation.
So currently, since everything is customizable, even when Jake's in the grocery store, if he feels that he doesn't want to peanut butter, he could just swipe forward. There's no check right now whether he has taken peanut butter or not. And when he's always connected with Susan, she can always prompt him that you don't need peanut butter, you can move to the next step.
Okay. And related to that is this notion of scaffolding, right? So as they learn segments of the sequence, they might be able to skip over large chunks of it, right? Or jump around.
Yeah. So a major part of our project was based on phasing out the project. So our first phase was the training phase where everyone was together, and the next phase was the alone together phase where Jake was in the store alone but connected with a video chat. So he was together with Susan. So basically, we want to try phasing out, phasing everything out and making Jake more independent.
Yeah.
The other thing is that if Jake becomes more independent, the caretaker app doesn't necessarily have to be for the mother. He can have it on his phone and he can make his own tasks. He wouldn't call himself, but we didn't show you, but you can set up your contacts. So it's not that it always calls the phone that has the app. You can set up a phone call too. And so as they go through the phases, every time he goes, he can change the steps. It's just something that's there for when maybe there's a crowd and he gets more anxious and he knows that. So he has that just in case he needs it. And the other thing that might touch on your question a bit about situations that aren't so linear, we did briefly mention that you can also add relaxation techniques, because a lot of times these kids, they go through a lot of different interventions and they do have a sequence of things that they do when they're in stressful situations. So that can also be set up for those kinds of situations.
So what were the sorts of things that you thought about that were specific to autism that you think made this app particularly useful for them? And kind of a second part to the question is, are there other groups, other clinical populations that could benefit from this sort of tool?
Sensory thing?
Yeah.
Audio visual. So it has an audio and a visual aspect to the app, and so since a lot of people with autism have sensory issues, you don't have to use it specifically as you can use it specifically visually or audibly.
Yeah.
Or only audio. So
And also,
well, it's just, as we mentioned earlier, there is a lot of research on strategies to help them learn tasks, and those that we showed are kind of combined in our application. So they use images that are labeled now and later for tasks already when they're younger to help prepare them for things. So that's just kind of like taking video support and putting it all together in one for moving on into adulthood. And then we actually did debate a lot at the beginning about what population we wanted to work with, because we do all come from different backgrounds too. And once we figure out, or once we had built a prototype, it would have be easier to figure out if we can use it for other populations, but we thought that autism was a good one to start with so that we could start building it.
Yes.
Do you think about other features that might, so I'm thinking specifically about the brochure. So let's say you go in, similar to Tim's one, I guess, and you know there's a set number of things you want to get. I could see that navigation-wise you may inadvertently skip over a step, not be aware that you missed it. So some sort of kind of score sheet or check at the very end that you can check off, yes, I did in fact get all these things.
Yeah.
Another thing that dawned on me is if you did some barcode scanning. One of the things that's tricky there is there's a lot of different kinds of milk, and there's a lot of different kinds of yogurt, a lot of different kinds of soda. And so knowing which one to actually get may be difficult, and so one way you could do that is they all have unique barcode scans. The other thing is now they have to deal with money. So how much did all these things cost? And another thing is if someone really had a hard time finding this product, could you use the phone to show the image of what you're after, and that person could then come and help you find that item also?
Okay, so just from a strictly technical standpoint, I thought that was really cool that you brought up the barcode thing. There's a lot of really innovative APIs out there now where I think it's making virtual reality a lot more feasible. Their APIs, where you can say exactly where a product is in a certain aisle in a grocery store. So being able to implement that sort of thing would make the virtual reality aspect of the app like really lifelike.
I mean, I think you have a lot of really good suggestions. In the scope of the time we had, we couldn't really implement any of those things, but we had talked a lot about using things like location and other information from the application and even from the phone that would be ways to sort of predict situations that would happen, and adding in things like that I think would be a great direction to improve in.
Also, our major goal was to make things as simple as possible for now, so that it's really easy to work with the app. Because I've had this glass for a while now, and sometimes it gets tricky if you're a new user. You don't really know what to do, how to do it. So if your app is really simple, and at least for the start, it makes it really easy to use it.
Oh, and then just, are we done? Oh, well, for the money issue in our script, we had to put a credit card, but that also would be part what the practicing together is for. And again, we created these cards, but for someone else, it could be that it's as little as just a picture of milk or just the word milk, or it could be more detailed for someone who needs it to be that way. So it depends on the user, and that's why it can be customized.
And also, we would like to thank Miriam. She's unfortunately not here. She's our team member, and we miss her. So, yeah. Thank you, Miriam.